Madeline, how are things going there?
The ballroom here behind me is now filled with supporters of the Democratic gubernatorial candidate, and everyone seems to be in pretty high hopes. People are gathered for tonight's vigil. It was organized to recognize the 5 transgender women of color killed just this past month in the United States. Health insurance navigators like the one Hyde spoke to earlier today are in many places in Columbia, including the one right here, Columbia Public Library, that I'm standing right in front of. The legislation would also attempt to accommodate transgender students in other ways, like creating single-stall bathrooms, creating separate unisex bathrooms, or allowing transgender students to use faculty bathrooms and restrooms. I'm live here on Broadway, where the roads are actually pretty good right now. As you can see, they're wet, but that is just water, not any ice. That's mainly because they have had crews coming through downtown since Friday, laying down salt and making sure those roads are safe. Amita Creighton passed away in October of 2013. Now, each year, her friends, family, and those she's inspired create this Thanksgiving feast to make sure her memory lives on. Women make 78 cents for every dollar that a man makes, which doesn't seem like a lot of money, but as the salaries get bigger, the difference becomes more noticeable. Here at the state capitol, lawmakers will deliberate the so-called bathroom bill. It's comparable to controversial legislation out of North Carolina that requires individuals to use the bathroom of the sex they were assigned to at birth. Now, in North Carolina, this bill affects all government buildings. Here in Missouri, it would only impact grade school students, K through 12th grade. After speaking with several people that took our survey, both for and against the bill, it's clear that both sides feel they're heading a noble cause. I took a look at what this meant for each of them.
I'd always had this feeling for the longest time that that I didn't fit like this. And I always thought if I ignored it long enough, it would go away.
It took Toddy Jenkins 19 years to embrace who he is.
It wasn't until recently I decided maybe it was better to confront these feelings instead of ignore them.
But it didn't take long for him to find out what that meant.
Afraid that I might face some of the hate and bigotry I've seen around. Like you see in the news, these stories of transgender people being murdered for just simply existing. And I don't understand that.
And Jenkins isn't the only one who doesn't understand.
People who identify as transgender are the least physically violent people on the planet. So it's kind of ludicrous. There's never been a case of a transgender person attacking anyone ever. It's really the opposite.
So how does something that seems simple become so controversial?
Part of the question is, okay, because we think of something as normal, does that mean it's the only way to do things? Does that mean it's the good way to be? Or how much do we need to recognize the rights of people who are not like us, or the rights of people who don't line up in exactly the ways that we're used to?
For supporters of the transgender bathroom bill, even the best intentions...
I love these people. I have family who are gay, lesbian, transgender. I have those people. I love them, and I'm for their rights.
...have their reservations.
We don't really know what the motives may be. We can't tell. There's just no way to tell. That's why we lock our doors. We don't suspect everyone in our neighborhood is going to walk in, but we don't know.
Some people say we have to keep focusing on the facts, what is actually happening and who is actually in danger.
What's at stake isn't just whether people feel comfortable. What's at stake is some really serious things about whether individuals are safe, whether they're getting bullied, whether they're getting harassed.
Others say the answer lies in understanding one another.
I think it's just because people are uncomfortable due maybe to not understanding or feel like so they are afraid.
But fear...
It's just that we are opening a door by letting them do that. We're just opening a door to make it easy for the ones who do have bad things in mind.
Is always a factor.
Anybody should feel safe in public. We shouldn't have to be afraid because of who we are or what we are.
Gabe Edwards was one of 2 full-time officers in Hallsville prior to his resignation last month. And after the departure of their final full-time officer, Drew Gordon, some residents feel like they're being left to fend for themselves.
You know, it's not going to take long for people who are wanting to commit crimes to figure out that
there's nobody patrolling the street.
Hallsville resident Angela Giesler is not the only one who voiced concern after discovering her town was left without a functional police department.
I'm concerned for the safety of our children and of the elderly people in our community if there's not somebody there for that assistance.
The town's former police chief, Gabe Edwards, posted to Facebook Thursday, essentially saying the Hallsville Police Department no longer exists.
I wanted to let everybody know that probably need to be a little more vigilant and understand that you're going to be seeing a lot less police presence around here, and to look out for yourselves.
And despite the reassurance of knowing county authorities have their back,
we're lucky enough that Boone County Sheriff's Department, we have got several officers that live in our town.
In some cases, it's just not enough.
If there is an emergency where we need a police officer, you're waiting for a Boone County Sheriff then to come, and who knows how far away they're going to be.
Which is why Edwards says he spoke out in the first place.
It is very much because I do care for the community here. Like I said, I've got a lot of friends and a lot of family that live here that, I care for, and I don't want to see bad things happen to good people.
For the event organizers, holding tonight's vigil was a matter of urgency. But for transgender people of color, it's a struggle they face every day.
You have people that won't like you for your race, and then you'll have people who won't like you for your sexual orientation or your gender identity.
Seeing the faces of the 5 black transgender women who were killed just last month is a feeling Gabby Hayes is all too familiar with.
I think there's still this idea of speaking about us as if we are theoretical rather than we are as humans who are real and exist.
Community members came to honor the lives of those trans women. They read the words of their parents and shed tears over their photos.
I felt really angry and just disgusted and upset when it felt like every single day I saw another black trans woman being murdered, and I just wanted something visible, something tangible to happen to acknowledge that.
But not everyone was there to mourn. Some were there to remind people there's still a fight to fight.
We're not here to just mourn the people who are lost, and we're there to actively advocate for people who exist now and who will continue to exist in the future.
And a lot more to be done.
When we call out our families, when we call out our friends, when we call out each other, when we're open to doing things that are scary, that can involve being critiqued and messing up, that's the real one part of the real day-to-day work that needs to be done, that desperately needs to be done.